What's up, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar moving forward, talk about some big news involving Tesla, what you should be watching for as time goes on. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention an 8.1% APY on uninvested cash. The offer ends very soon, just a couple of weeks. Anyways, now let's talk about what's happening with Tesla. Tesla pushed very, very nicely into the 270 area after its earnings had come out. But since then, Tesla's been on a bit of a downtrend, and we're actually losing our 50 EMA on the 4-hour time frame right now. So that is a sign of weakness. But the question is, what does this mean for us, and why is Tesla kind of performing like this? Well, this morning, Tesla is dipping a little bit more, exactly as I predicted yesterday, because of this news right over here. And this is what's being used as a catalyst for today. Tesla's October China-made EV sales are falling. So the report is basically telling us that Tesla is selling about, or it's sold about 68,280 China-made EVs in October, which is down 5.3% from a year ago, according to data from the China Passenger Car Association. This was what was reported today. So this is very important because when you look at something else, the deliveries of the China-made Model 3 and Model Y vehicles are down about 22.7% from the previous month. Not really a surprise because you have to consider that September, the sales went up a lot because it was the end of the quarter, especially with the new sales that they were trying to push. And then, so the next month after the quarter ends tends to be weaker. That is not necessarily a surprise. But what's going to matter is going to be what we see closer to like December. That's when sales tend to start really going up. So we'll just have to wait on that. Otherwise, this is not really a surprise in my personal opinion. Now, these headlines like to compare Tesla with BYD. I'm going to say this: it doesn't really matter, guys. Both of the companies have a lot of sales in their own ways. BYD does tend to have a bigger advantage because domestically in China, they do get more sales, especially when they have EVs and hybrids. So it doesn't make sense to compare them like the way this article is. However, the media loves to do that. We'll just have to wait until the end of the quarter just to see what the sales end up looking like. And just remember that Tesla is all electric and they do sell globally, and they are continuing to look at a lot of growth moving forward. So, am I worried about this? Not necessarily. Is this a little bit more negative though for the share price? Sure, for the super short term, maybe. But once again, guys, I just want to call this out. For other pieces of news, so as of right now, because of this news, Tesla's a little bit down. But there is more news coming out right over here. Today is Monday, November 4th, 2024, the day before the big election day. So it's going to be pretty wild, especially tomorrow. But just know that for today, there's not much data coming out except at 11:30 a.m. We have a couple of bill auctions. So there might be some volatility at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So keep that in mind. Some more news about the markets. A big week ahead of us with all these things coming up. We also have FOMC on Thursday. We have the election on Tuesday and a bunch of other stuff. This is going to be crazy. More than two-thirds of the S&P 500 companies already reported earnings. But don't forget, we have Palantir coming out today, then a few more, such as like restaurants, and the list goes on. And then there's news about what's happening with Warren Buffett. He's not buying in the market right now. They're actually seeing their cash fortress continue to accumulate. I actually had this headline right over here I was going to talk about. So the cash is just continuing to accumulate right now. They're just continuing to stay risk off for the time being. That could be because they are anticipating a pullback, possibly, and they're going to be buying the dips very, very soon. So that's what Warren Buffett is doing alongside Berkshire Hathaway. This is what the earnings calendar looks like. Nothing too crazy. We do have Palantir announcing earnings today and a few more like Supermicro tomorrow, but that is pretty much it. And then lastly, there was some news about Nvidia joining the Dow Jones. I did miss this news over the weekend, guys. I'm sorry about that. But this is some big news. This is why Nvidia is going to attempt to push just a little bit. But I don't expect the move to last forever, guys, because once again, the whole market's in a very, very more important corrective phase. So because Tesla lost 250, our target was 244. This is where the support happens to be for Tesla. And if we were to lose this 244 area, okay, we're going to be looking at two more supports. We have one support right over here. There's an imbalance all the way down here. We'd be watching for very close to about a little bit over 240. And then below that, we have 235 as our next, um, you know, EMA all the way down there. So look at 244 is support. If that fails, we're going to be dipping closer to the 240 area, not to mention 235. And if we hold above 244, we're looking for basically 246.5, not to mention 248 is our resistance areas. We're looking at Tesla on the 4 hour because we rejected off our 20 EMA and we're losing the 50. We're looking at 244 as our main support. It is possible when we open Tesla see some buyers can try to defend 244, but ultimately it does favor that's going to be dipping closer to much lower 240s to continue this next imbalance fill down here. So that's the most likely case for Tesla, guys. Keep that in mind. As far as SPY goes, this was attempting to rebound. I do think it's going to attempt to rebound a little bit more, get close to about the 572 area, which is what I predicted yesterday. We did technically get there already during my during like the pre-market as soon as we like entered the pre-market. So there's going to be an attempt to go a little higher, but then I do anticipate we're going to be making a lower high and continuing to reject back down. And there's going to be another attempt to get back down to about 568. So look for an attempt for 572 or above before we see some downside as the most likely move. And then watch 570. If we don't hold above that, once again, we're looking for 568 and 566 as our potential targets. So watch those levels very, very carefully. For ES is range bound, stuck in the middle. We have resistance around the 5788 area, and then we have the support to watch for at 5750. If that fails, since we're looking for 5740 is our next potential target, not to mention much lower levels. But what I'm thinking for ES is the same thing. We had a high here, we came down, we're about to make a lower high right over here before it continues to dip back down to this imbalance, taking us back down to about 5740. So watch for that very carefully. For Nvidia, once again, we're trying to push higher. We did push for about 140. We'll have to see if we hold above 137.8. If we do hold above this, we could attempt to get back close to 140. But if 137.8 fails us, I could be looking for an attempt to get back down to 136.5. Eventually, eventually back down to the 134s. So that's what I'm seeing for Nvidia for the time being. I believe it's going to push a little bit more, but the move might not be that crazy unless we break past 140. So it might be a small push on Nvidia, but my gut's telling me there's going to be a little bit of downwards pressure with the market that's going to slow it down, despite the fact that it's going to attempt to gap up. So look for an attempt to push, maybe a dip afterwards. If we don't hold 137.8, look for a bigger dump, and then we could be looking for the 136s all over again. I will shift more bullish if we break 140, but it's looking a little bit less likely. Looks like it's tough resistance. It's going to be rejected, making a lower high and just continue to dip. For others out there, we also have NQ. NQ is rejecting off this 20 EMA. We need to try to reclaim 20,250. Otherwise, there's a risk of this dipping all the way down to 20,100, all the way down to much lower levels into the 20,000 area. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. The QQQ, we need to get back above 490. If not, there's a risk of us coming all the way down towards 485 and eventually 484. I believe we could be dipping close to 484 again as we're making a lower high here, especially because we're seeing some tech stocks slow down. So I could be looking for an attempt to dip back down to about 484 on the QQQ. We need to get back above this 490 area for us to come and start pushing higher. Otherwise, there's a risk of us coming back down. For others out there, we're basically looking for Apple. Apple's on a bit of a downtrend as well, right over here. Apple's looking kind of weak. This is also weakening for the markets. If we get back above 221.7, I could be looking for an attempt for 222.6. And if we don't do that, we're at risk of coming down to 220. My gut tells me we're going to be testing 220 very soon, if not below. Don't forget, we have a gap to fill all the way down at the 216 area. So we look bearish, guys. We're favoring 220 or below very, very soon on Apple. For others out there, we have the IWM Russell 2000. Like I said before, we're making lower highs on this thing. I'm going to reclaim 220 to turn back up. Otherwise, I'm looking for 218.5, followed by 217.5 next. For Amazon's it pushed very nicely to 200, but I called this out yesterday. I said, be careful, guys, because 200 is a tough resistance, and so far we got that rejection. So if we can't get back above 198, we're looking for 193.64 to 194 as our target. So far it's looking a little bit more like it's going to be dipping to 194, so be careful with Amazon. That could slow down tech. Meta is also dipping a bit. We're going to be looking for a test of 559.5. We want to get back above 573 to turn back up, so look for 559 to be coming very soon. For others, like you have Microsoft looking a little bit more bearish. We'll see if we try to reclaim 412 or not. Otherwise, there is a risk of this coming back down to 406. So 406 is likely coming. For Google, if it does not reclaim 172.6, we're looking for basically 170 as our target. Anyways, that's it for my video for now, guys. The VIX is still holding up very well, so this could once again signify that if we do get a small dip and a bounce on the VIX, or we just continue to break out, there is still downside pressure coming to the markets. Even if we do attempt to see a little pop when we open, there is still that risk of downside. I want to keep that in your guys' minds. The market is still looking kind of risky, but the big move is going to be coming once we get the election results. So that's going to be like by Wednesday. We should be looking for a big reaction. Until then, just know that Tesla looks more bearish. The market still has like a very heavy feeling to it, and Tesla could be dipping to the lower 240. So just keep that in mind. Thank you all for listening, guys. Have a great day. I'll be back in a couple of hours for another update. Until then, thank you and peace out.